The government insists that this kind of spending targeting and helping low-income earners will not be inflationary. Ultimately, the RBA will be the judge of that. Let's bring in the Australian's chief political correspondent, Geoff Chambers. Geoff, thank you for your time today. You've been writing about what we can expect in tomorrow night's budget. We're hearing very clear hints of a surplus for 2022 to 23, but it's not expected to last. In your view, is the government doing the tough work of budget repair here, or is this surplus thanks to higher tax revenue and commodity prices?
So Jim Chalmers and Katy Gallagher have promised that in Tuesday night's budget they'll outline a very crystal clear budget repair strategy. We didn't see that in October, and we'll be poring over the details of that tomorrow night. I think it's a fact that Jim Chalmers will deliver the nation's first surplus in 15 years, and he'll become the first Labor Treasurer since Paul Keating in 1989 to deliver a surplus. But I think the important areas to look at is further down the track. So we've got this surging revenue from higher commodity prices, a strong labour force, and we're going to see an improvement of more than $100 billion tomorrow night, and that is a clear temptation for Labor to spend some of that money. So I think we'll see a surplus in 22-23. I think we'll see a pretty slim deficit the following year, and if those surging revenues continue, Jim Chalmers may well bank consecutive surpluses. But the real question mark is over that long-term structural deficit and those ballooning costs across those core areas. And it'll take a lot of rigour and a lot of discipline from the Labor government to contain that and get on top of it.
Geoff, the Treasurer has described this cost of living relief package as the centrepiece of the budget. He says it's a very Labor budget in the tradition of helping the vulnerable and people who need it the most. Are economists, however, concerned that this $14 billion in relief could be inflationary, could contribute to the economic circumstances that we're seeing at the moment?
They are concerned about that. And you've got to remember the $14.6 billion just pertains to cost of living measures. There's a lot of other spending and tax changes that'll occur in this budget. I think the key component of this cost of living package, which will include the changes to the single parenting payment that we heard from the Prime Minister today, is this blanket increase to the job seeker rate. In 2021, the Coalition approved a $50 a fortnight increase, which cost $9 billion. So of that $14.6 billion package, it's around $9.5 billion that we haven't heard announced. And what these welfare payment changes do is they bake in spending over the long term and they put more money into pockets. Obviously, the message is that vulnerable households need support, particularly in this cost of living crisis. But there is some concerns from economists who are calling for temporary and targeted measures rather than long-term spending.
The Finance Minister, Katy Gallagher, says they found $17 billion in savings from, her so-called Razor Gang. $7 billion is being redistributed in the defence. Do you think this extra $10 billion will be a real saving from the government?
It's a bit of creative accounting here. So of the 17.8, 7.8 was announced through the Defence Strategic Review, and that money will be spread across defence projects. Of the remaining $10 billion, much of that goes into other Labor priority programs. So if a minister finds X savings, those savings are then put into one of their priority programs. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what goes to the bottom line.
Yes.
And where those savings go, because I think predominantly the savings will just be shifted across budgets.